Episode number 163 of the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. Welcome to the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. I'm Michelle, a fertility acupuncturist here to provide you with resources on how to create a wholesome approach to your fertility journey. Welcome to the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. Today, I want to talk about something interesting. I always talk about really getting to the basics when it comes to healing and training ourselves. We are really wired to be entrained with an environment, and ultimately, this really impacts our cycle, menstrual cycle, and fertility health altogether, and really just our overall health. So, something that I wanted to talk about actually is vibration therapy. Something that I've started to do at my practice in person is I always start out the acupuncture session with sounding a bowl. So it's like a mini sound bath that I do. And it really gets the treatment started beautifully because people feel that vibration through the needles and the points. But sound therapy is actually really has a lot of scientific research behind it. And it is something that we could definitely use as a tool. So there's so many different tools. The beauty of healing in general is that there's so many ways to do it. We can heal through the mind, we can heal through the body, we can heal through food, we can heal through supplements. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can actually address the body. And that's one of the reasons why I was always drawn to the word wholesome in my business, because I really do think it takes a village. It's something that we really need to address on every level. But sometimes you can find that one thing or that one key that really, really resonates with you. And you can use that and it really makes a big difference. So sound therapy is really powerful. But one of the things that I found really interesting, and I was always intrigued by it, but I found really interesting is that mantras, the sounding of mantras, which has been practiced for centuries in ancient cultures, actually has an impact on the brain. And they did studies. They did one where they actually checked through MRI to see what was going on in the brain, what parts of the brain were activated. So the limbic system, which is usually the stress area or the more primal part of our brains, became less active when people sounded Om. And they actually compared different sounds. They actually compared Om, and then they compared the sound with S, like S, and they found a difference with the sounds. So those specific sounds that have been talked about for centuries throughout ancient cultures and practiced actually have a very specific vibration that induces a very calm effect on the body. And the reason why this is so important is if you really think about the vagus nerve and stimulating the vagus nerve, it actually has an impact. And it also, one of the ways that you can stimulate it actually is putting certain pads. There's a machine that you can put little pads right behind your ears, and then it sends currents, and that actually induces this stimulation of your vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is in charge of regulating internal organ functions, digestion, heart rate, and breathing. It really puts the body in a rest and digest mode, and ultimately that rest and digest mode is where we're able to access more healing. That's when everything starts to regulate and our hormones start to balance, and it also helps our gut health. So our gut and the brain, I don't know if you've heard this before, but the gut and the brain have this relationship. And when we're able to feel more at ease, it actually helps our digestion. And when if we fix our digestion, it also helps us feel more at ease. It's like anything in the body. I've noticed it's really a back and forth relationship. And so one impacts the other and the other impacts the one. And it's just this back and forth. So by being able to stimulate it through sound therapy or sound vibration, you can actually impact that tuning of your body's energy. So, some of the ways of really getting into that vibration, that sound vibration, is by sounding it ourselves and chanting. So, there are very specific mantras that you can repeat and do over and over again to really to change your vibration, to really impact how you feel. And it's really wild because if I do ohms, sometimes if I feel a little uncentered and I'm driving to something important, meeting, something, I actually in the car will start to ohm a couple of times. And I do it a bunch of times, like back and forth. So it's not like the yoga class where you just do it once at the beginning. You really do it as a practice. You do it over and over again. And when you do it over and over again, not only are you forcing yourself to breathe slow and deep, but you're also sounding this vibration from within your body using your own vocal cords. So it actually vibrates inside your cells and your body and impacts everything because once you vibrate one part, it vibrates the whole because everything connects. And when you do that over and over and over again, it really makes such a difference. You feel like you're in this zone afterwards. You feel more calm and more clear and more alert. What I love about any kind of meditative arts or these ancient techniques is that they not only make you feel calm, but they also make you feel alert. I love that combination of words, calm, alert. It's a beautiful thing. It's calm, but you're still awake and you're able to function. Whereas in our modern world, we either feel really tired when we're calm or we feel really jittery when we're alert. That's because we're either really super exhausted or we're on caffeine or something to try to get us going. And this is this perfect balance of the yin and the yang, of calm yet being alert at the same time. And that is, I mean, it's the best combination. It's a perfect duo. And so doing that, doing ohms, and I'll just kind of stick with ohm because it is a beautiful one. It's something that everybody can do. It's the most common one because, according to ancient Indian philosophy, it is actually the primordial sound of the universe. So the idea is that this is actually how the universe began. It began with this vibration of Om, and that Om is the first vibration. And also, supposedly, we actually hear it all the time. Like there is that vibration in the background, but because we hear something all the time, we become deaf to it. Like it becomes something that we don't hear anymore because it's always in the background. So it becomes almost like just this norm that we become desensitized to. So by chanting it, we're able to bring ourselves back to that consciousness. We're able to bring ourselves back to that original state. And we tune ourselves because we can get very out of tune. Our bodies come out perfect. Unless we're born with some kind of disorder, typically our bodies, when they come out fresh, they're very tuned. They know how to tune themselves, and then they get out of balance as we age. Whether we sit too long and we're not moving our bodies enough, or we just have, use different vibrations coming out of our mouth. I think one of the things that actually brings us in balance is the words that we speak. Since we're on vibration, I'll talk about that. The words that come out of our mouth towards ourselves or towards others. And one book that I love, absolutely love, is called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And he talks about being impeccable with your word. The words that come out of your mouth should be impeccable. And when I heard that, when I read that, I felt it really hit my core as something that is so true. And something that I really believe is that when we do hear truth, our soul recognizes it and we feel it in ourselves. And what I think that that is a remembrance. We're reminded to something that we already know deep in ourselves, deep in our hearts, deep in our souls. And when we hear that truth, It rings true. It feels true because it is, because it's something that you actually remember. It's a remembering and bring yourself back to that. So using words in a way that is very aligned with who you are, aligned with your soul, aligned with your conscience. And they say using your conscience, using words correctly, because when you use words incorrectly, when you use your power of word to harm another, and that could be harming yourself by the words that you speak, and your ears listen to it, your body responds to it. What are the things that you're telling yourself? And I don't even mean by saying it, I'm saying it even thinking it. What words, what vibrations are you giving yourself? And that's another thing. They've done studies not only on Om, but like even thoughts can change how our brains vibrate. So, what kind of thoughts, what are you infusing yourself with? Those things matter. And one of the ways that it's actually been studied is seen. You can find this book. It's called Hidden Messages in the Water, and it's by Masaru Emoto, who is a scientist from Japan, and he studied crystals right at the second that water froze. He would study different types of water. He at first started wanting to study different types of water from different places, like in nature, distilled compared to distilled water, compared to tap water. And he wanted to see the different crystals that emerge from freezing little tiny drops of water. What he found was insane because he started out looking at the different types of water, and then he put music with the water. He actually put music with the water, and from putting music, he noticed differences in each crystal depending on the music that the water was exposed to. So he would take distilled water, so it's controlled. It starts out all the same, and then he took different vials and put sounds, different music with each one. And it was incredible to see the difference. And actually, the most beautiful one was classical music, and the worst looking one was the one that was with heavy metal. So, what's interesting about this is that I could tell you from my own experience that this does impact, these vibrations do impact, because my daughter, she actually had a science experiment in fifth grade where she took three different plants and we controlled the whole thing. Each plant had the same amount of water, the same amount of seeds. We actually grew them from seeds. So the same soil, same pot, same water, same everything. We did the same exact thing. The only difference was for an hour each day, we would take one plant and bring it back to the room, in the back room, and play different music. And one of them we would just bring back in the room and not play anything. So there's three plants. One of them had nothing. Basically, we would take it back just so we can have the same kind of environment. Take it to the back room, nothing. The second one we took to the back room, played classical music. The third one we took to the back room for an hour every day and played heavy metal. So we did that. And what we found was that the one that had classical music grew the most. And this is a significant amount, not just a little bit. A significant amount grew the most. The one with the heavy metal grew the second most. And the one that was ignored, that had nothing, no stimulation, grew the least. So I thought that was fascinating. But if you look at the pictures, it's crazy. Maybe one day I'll put it on social media because it's worth it. If you look at the pictures and see just how much more it grew with the classical music, it was insane. And they find that classical music actually impacts how people study. They actually help people's minds retain information better. There's something about the frequency and the proportion of how the music was made and created back during that classical era compared to the music that we have now. There was almost this formula that they used that was a lot more intelligent and that was a lot more compatible with nature than what we have now. And I find that pretty fascinating. I mean, there are actual formulas that they used. I think one of them is called the perfect triad. I'm not a musician, but I have heard this from people that are really into it. And there's something very interesting about that because it actually sounds better to the ear, to the body. So that's really fascinating. So talk about vibration and really how it impacts, but certain sounds really make an impact. Another type of music that I was also seen that way was classical Indian music as well. So that I found pretty fascinating. Now, it gets better, even more than this. So once he did this with the water, and I just wanted to give my own example because many scientists, people will dismiss these kind of things, but I know for a fact that it's true. I've seen it. And the same thing with plants. If you talk to plants, if you actually talk to them, I don't know if it's the carbon dioxide, the vibration, whatever, but they actually start to do better. They grow better. And what I found, what was interesting about this, the hidden messages in the water, is that he also wrote words. He didn't even say words, he just wrote words on the vials. On each vial, he would write a different word, one being I love you, one being thank you, and one, this is the crazy thing. It wasn't even like, I mean, there was one that said I hate you, but there was another one that just said you fool, which is like, I mean, it's not nice, but it's not like this crazy dramatic thing. And it is insane, but the crystal that came out of that was very distorted looking. So words have vibration. And the reason I'm saying this is because I mentioned internal words, even saying things or thinking things to yourself makes a difference. And why am I saying that? Because even writing it down, they didn't say it. They actually just wrote it down next to the water. And just writing it down on the vial made a difference and changed the way the vibration, the crystal looked. So that is really fascinating, just to show how important your words are and the words that you use. So the words that come out of your mouth are always being heard by your ears. And the sounds that you're using, like seed mantras or Om, we'll focus on Om this time, can really impact the vibration of your body. Another way to get vibration in is binaural beats. Binaural beats is a type of sound frequency that typically you would use listening with headphones because each side is different. They're not both the same. So you'd need to listen to it with headphones, but it basically is thought to entrain and shift your brainwave entrainment. So basically, it will entrain your brain waves through the sound. And what it does is it kind of forces a state of meditation. So it actually creates a state of meditation. It's almost, I call it like lazy man's meditation, just like Thai massage. I call it lazy man's yoga because you're being stretched out and really moved in a certain way without really effort. So it's the same kind of thing. It's like lazy man's meditation gives you meditation without even having to sit and meditate. So it kind of puts you right into that state without having to do anything. So by doing that, you're actually inducing the state of calm. And ultimately, I know just from my work and how I've been trained, ultimately getting into that state of calm is what balances hormones, balances your body. It just puts you in homeostasis. It balances the yin and the yang. So getting to that state, it's like this portal where your body is able to heal itself. That is why people, when they get sick, want to sleep a lot. They need their body to be in the state of relaxation. When they're in that state of relaxation, the body works less and is able to focus more on healing. So when you're in a state of constant fight or flight, your body actually takes It takes the blood away from the organs and puts it into the arms and the legs. Why? Because typically when we're in a fight or flight mode, what do we need? We need to be able to run. We need the energy to go into our muscles and our legs and just leave without thinking, just like move. But if you're doing this, if you're responding this way when there really isn't something that's truly a threat, but it's more this chronic stress state or chronically feeling unsafe, which honestly the news can just do, just watching the news by itself can do. And ultimately, having this chronic state of stress will impact everything, and it impacts the hormones, it impacts your physiological function, and it's going to take away from your immune system. That's why when people feel extra stressed, they'll tend to get more sick. And what does that mean? It doesn't even have to be you getting sick physically or getting a cold. Your body isn't able to get to this homeostasis state. So having this constant impact is going to affect your reproductive health, your body, and also really high stresses can impact your menstrual cycle as well. So doing these things can really make a difference in your sleep. It can make a difference in your life. It can make a difference also in your clarity of mind when you are making really tough decisions, which we know is something that happens when you're on the fertility journey. So it is, all of these things are beneficial for us to do, and utilizing vibrations is a powerful way of doing it. One other way, a last way that I'm going to mention, is using things like tuning forks or sound bowls that you can order, and you literally can actually use different frequencies for different chakras. So you can get one for your second chakra. I would do, if I could get two, you could get like actually a whole set for tuning forks, and then you basically hit it with a hockey puck and put it on those chakras. And you can look up, there's many different videos that you can find online, and it usually, those sets will come with like a series of information and instructions. But you can also do sound bowls that vibrate to different chakras, or just go to a lot of local yoga places, do sound baths. Now things seem to be opening up, so there's a lot more events like that happening, and they do that with the full moon. So doing that vibration therapy is incredibly powerful. But if nothing else, what you can get from this episode is to start oming. Just start oming. Om like on the way to work, on the way back, om in the car, because it's not something that's dangerous to do. It's not going to impact your focus on driving. It's something that you can do. And by doing that, again, you are actually slowing down your breath as well. So you're controlling your breath. You're getting a longer impact of breath. You're using the vibration throughout inside of your body. You're also impacting your diaphragm as you're doing that, and you're exercising it. So doing those kind of things would really help the vibration of your body. And my belief is that when you do impact your vibration of your body, you're impacting not only your mind, but you're also impacting your menstrual cycle. So try it out, see how it impacts you. And if you feel any difference, I'd love to hear about it. You can always reach out to me. I'm always happy to hear from you guys, and always happy to hear from my listeners. You can reach out to me at info@thewholesomelotus.com. So thank you for listening in. I hope that this inspired you to check out different vibrations and implement certain sound therapy techniques. Another thing too, you could also use classical music or calming meditative music around the house. That is also very powerful. So thank you for listening in today, and I hope you have a beautiful day. So that concludes today's episode. You can find all of the links mentioned on the episode notes. If you're enjoying these episodes, please take a moment to share and leave a review. Reviews mean everything to podcasters, and I really enjoy hearing from my listeners. You can also find me on my website at www.thewholesomelotus.com or email me at info@thewholesomelotus.com. I love hearing from my listeners. If you're interested and want updates as well as a free ebook on my top 10 fertility boosting habits, you can visit my fertility page on www.thewholesomelotus.com. I thank you so much for listening in and hope that you have a beautiful day.